I've been asked a few times to share some of my past life dreams, so that's what I'm doing today. If this interests you, stick around and let's get into it. Hi, and welcome back to the Wholeness Shift. My name is Veronica, and if this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're coming back to join us again, welcome back. I teach about easy, practical spirituality and help you navigate your spiritual awakening. I also talk about the law of attraction and intentional living and all kinds of other stuff. So if this interests you, why don't you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on anything good. I'm a very vivid dreamer, as many of you are, and I've had a lot of dreams about my past lives. I've talked about it in many videos, and so I've gotten requests over the months to share some of those, and I never have, but today I am. If you don't know already, your guides are in charge of your dreams. And if you want to hear more about how your guides can communicate with you, I will link to that below so that you can check that out as well. My eyes are so irritated and red. I apologize for how red my eyes are constantly in my videos these days. You know, I have Sjogren's syndrome. If you don't know what that is, basically it's an autoimmune disease that affects the moisture producing glands in your body. And so I have horribly dry eyes. And for the longest time, for years, I've been on Restasis drops. And when I worked for the Cleveland Clinic, like when I would go get my prescription, like a 3-month supply, my copay was $300 and something, which was a lot, but I was willing to pay it because it was worth it. Well, at my new job, I just went to get my first refill. I had used up all my old medicine, just went to get my first batch, and my copay with this company is $900 and some dollars for 3 months. And I'm like, no. I'm not gonna do it. So I need to go see if they have like a coupon or something I can get online, but no amount of natural tears or any kind of lubricating drops, no amount of Visine, nothing is helping my eyes. They stay so red and just uncomfortable. So thank you for bearing with me through my red eyes. So in these dreams, I've had many past life dreams, and you can tell the difference between dreams and memories or past life experiences by the way they look, the way they feel. You know, dreams can be pretty nonsensical, and dreams a lot of the time are to do with your current self, your current life, the current people in your life. Whereas past life dreams, they look like another lifetime. They're set in a historical period setting. You might be wearing period clothing. You might look like an entirely different person. You might sound different. You might not even be the same gender. And it feels more like an experience, like a memory experience versus dream logic or dream nonsense. Do you know what I mean? They definitely seem to be grounded in more of a memory or more of another personality you've had. They just have a very distinct feeling about them. If you know what I'm talking about, comment below and validate me so I don't feel so crazy. So I've chosen 5 past life dreams to talk about today. I have so many more. So this might even become a series if you guys respond well or are interested in them. And I've also had several future life dreams. They were definitely future lives. And so if you would like to hear about those, let me know, because I would be happy to gather up a handful of those and share those. And then I also thought that, because I think I'm going to make this like a little series, and I've also had several dreams that were like visitation dreams from aliens, multidimensional beings, however you want to refer to them, star beings, whatever. I have several of those as well. If you're interested in hearing about that, let me know. And so, without further delay, let's get started. So I've had so many dreams about living in castles. I mean, thousands of them. I can't even begin to tell you the number of dreams that I've had about various castles that I've lived in. And once in a while, one of those dreams will stand out as something special. And this is one of them. Number one, I was in a castle somewhere. I don't know where. I did see the king, and he wasn't someone who I immediately recognized. So I'm not quite sure who this was. But in this dream, I was in a castle. It was a new castle. And looking at it and the feel of it then, it was brand new and very posh, very fancy, like lap of luxury type fancy. And we see castles these days, these old, broken down, crumbled ruins. But back in the day, I mean, that was as fancy as it got. The feeling of being in this new castle with all of like these very luxe fabrics and everything was clean and pretty. It would feel like if you purchased like a multi-million-dollar brand new home in, I don't even know where's popular to live out there these days. Is it Bel Air, Malibu, wherever? Buying like the newest, fanciest, sleekest home you could imagine, full of all the finest stone and the finest fabrics and the feeling of the hardware. Everything is just like, that's what it felt like. It was new and luxurious and beautiful. So there were the finest velvets and silks, and all of the fabrics were just gorgeous. And when I looked out the windows, these beautiful, they were like stained glass windows or leaded windows with some stained glass in them, but they opened and I could see outside around the castle there were these beautiful manicured flower beds and the roses were blooming and everything was just manicured and beautiful. So in this dream, I was the queen and I had just had a baby. I just had a baby boy, and there was something wrong with him. He was healthy and perfect in my eyes, but like there was something wrong, like a deformed finger or a deformed toe, or maybe something wrong with his foot. I don't remember, but it was something small on one of his extremities. And this wasn't my first child. I had another son who was slightly older. I don't know if he was like 3 or 4, maybe. He was slightly older, and we were in the nursery, and he was sitting on the windowsill with the window open, looking outside at the goings-on outside the castle. And the doctor was in there with me, and he had just examined the baby, and we knew that the king was coming. The king was coming to examine the baby, to decide what to do with him. And I was terrified that something would happen to my child, because it was like up to the king, like thumbs up, thumbs down, because technically this was a deformed child and they didn't put as much value on, oh, this is my child necessarily at that time. It was like, I am the king, I will have perfect heirs to take over my perfect throne type of thing. And so the king arrived with this whirlwind of grandeur, and he was a very handsome man. Very handsome man. He was medium to larger build. His energy just felt larger than life. He wasn't mean. He seemed very loving, very charming, very loving, but very powerful. And he had this big dark beard and mustache. And anyways, he arrived to view the baby. And so the doctor unwrapped the baby, and the king looked him over, and he's like, yeah, I see. Okay. And he asked the doctor, he's like, do you think he's bad enough that we need to dispose of him? Meaning like, do we like throw him in the moat? I mean, do we drown him? Do we get rid of him? And I was just dying 1,000 deaths inside, wanting to protect my baby. But I just knew that that's the way it was. And the doctor said, no, sire, I think it will be okay. I think it's not that bad. You could always even hide it if you wanted to. It's not that obvious. And since he's not the heir apparent, you know, we already have another heir. This is just the spare, basically. And I think that we're okay to let him live. And he was like, okay, done then. On to the next thing. And it was just like choosing which tires to put on his car or something. It's like, okay, great, settled. It was very unemotional, not in a cold, cruel way. It's just like that was just the way it was, just matter of fact. So then he just turned around and was happy to see me and, you know, greeted me and gave me a kiss, hello, and we all sat down on this, like, it was kind of like a day bed or something. Sat down on this chaise or day bed, this thing that was covered in like these velvets and just beautiful fabrics, brocades, and anyways, and he had another guy with him, and it seemed almost like it was his best friend or his brother or something. Very casual, lighthearted rapport between us all three. And he sat down and he's like, whoever the guy was, I'll just refer to him as his brother. His brother had said something about the stockings he was wearing. He was wearing this outfit, a very fine outfit, and the pants kind of ended near the knees, and then he was wearing like these white stockings underneath, and he mentioned the stockings like, dang, what are you wearing? Those look good, type of thing. And he was like, I know, my first outfit from his new clothier or whatever it's called came in, and he's like, look at these fabrics he uses and look at these stockings. They're like the finest silk. Feel these things. He was so impressed and he was just raving. And I could see the fabric, the detail in the weave of the fabric. And it was this navy blue satin, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a silk shantung. Luxe, just beautiful and luxe, and the fine detail that I could see in this dream. And he was just so impressed with this new tailor or clothier that he had found, and he's like, I'm going to be ordering so much. And he's like, you know, my dear, pick out what you like because I think we found a good one. So basically it was just like a day in the life of like I got to feel what it was like to live this life in this castle with this as my husband, and that was my reality. So it was just interesting to get a glimpse of what it was like to live that life at that time. Number 2, I was at Versailles. So in this dream, I was in my room. It was actually a very large room, or like a suite, a small suite of rooms. But I was in my room and I was in the lounge area, and I was visiting with a friend, a male friend who was there. We were just having conversation, having a drink, staying warm by the fire. And the whole time we were visiting, I mean, he was acting very friendly and whatnot, but my intuition was just firing, and I knew that I was not to trust this person at all. And like, he was going to try to kill me. He was not really my friend. He was my enemy. And so he had gotten up to leave for some reason or another. He left the room, and when he did, my intuition was just screaming, hide. He's coming back to hurt you. And so I scurried and hid behind the drapes. And they were these very tall windows and these very heavy, beautiful silken drapes, and I hid behind them, but I could still see out of a little sliver in the fabric. And he came back and I was gone, and I could see he had something in his hand, but I couldn't tell what. And I just knew that he came back to, I don't know, poison me, hurt me, I don't know, but he was like, where did she go? This was my one opportunity. And so he heard somebody on the stairs, and I could see the stairs, so I know exactly what they look like. And I'll try to find a picture and insert the stairs, because, I mean, if you're familiar with Versailles, there's this one staircase that it spirals going down. It has like these wrought iron and wooden railings, and you can look down and see all the other floors under it. Anyways, I'll try to find a picture of what I'm talking about and put it in. But I was looking at that staircase, and he ran out, and because he heard somebody going down the stairs, and he ran out and looked down over the railing to see if that was me, because if it was, he was going to try to go catch me and pull me back to my room. And he saw that it wasn't me, and so he was just like kind of discouraged and deflated and defeated, and he walked away. And that was the end of the dream. Number 3. In this dream, I was a man. I don't know how old. Middle-aged, maybe. And the dream started with me standing outside. I lived on a huge piece of land, like a farmland. And it was snowing. And I was standing outside in the snow, and I was looking at this field, just tens of acres. And way out in the distance, as far as the eye could see, there was a tree line. And everything was just blanketed in snow. It was the middle of winter, and there was just snow. And I was just standing there. I could see my breath, and all I could hear was silence. There were no modern noises, nothing but the quiet stillness of the snow. And I knew that more snow was coming, like we were getting a blizzard. And so I was out there just making sure everything was okay. And I walked around the side of this small wooden barn, and I lifted the latch on the door, and I peeked in just to make sure all my animals were okay. And they were all in there laying down, nestled in the hay. They just kind of looked at me like, love you. And I was pleased to see that they were cozy in there. And so I shut the gate and I latched it. And then I started heading toward the house, the main house. It was a large, like at least 2-story stone house. And I'll try to find a picture of what it looked like or similar. But as I was walking up to this house, I suddenly got like a flash of that house present day. And I could see, like, it looked more modern. It just looked more modern. It looked present day. And then on top of that, I got like a flash of an image of a magazine cover with like a picture or a painting of that house. And on the magazine cover, it was saying something about celebrating, I want to say it was the 250th anniversary of this home. I could see that I was living in a newly built home, or like shortly after it had been built, because it was lived in. But I was living in that home back in the day, 250 years ago or whenever. And I was getting a glimpse of it now that it was still standing and it became a historic home. But then I was back in past tense. And I walked in this home, and because it was so cold, it was so bitterly cold, we had moved all of our beds into like the main living space so that we could all stay warmer in this one room together and have a roaring fire going. And so we were hunkering down for the night. It was after dinner time, and we were all going to bed. And I remember laying in my bed, and I was feeling the cold of the stone wall beside me. And so I bundled up a little higher. And I had my bed a little further away so that my children could be closer to the fire. And I don't remember there being a wife. I think maybe my wife had died. And it was just me, and I think I had 2 boys. And they were being a little loud. They were talking and being a little rowdy. And I asked them to be quiet so that I could get some sleep, quiet down. And then I woke up. So it was just a very interesting little glimpse into another life. Number 4. This was a very short little dream. Didn't last long, but it was powerful, and I had never really had one like that up until that point. In this dream, I was Egyptian, I was female, and I was heading into a funeral for someone I loved. It was a male, but I don't know what relation. And I know that I was wearing a gold headdress with a snake coming off of the front. I could see it. Like when I looked up, I could see the snake coming up. I could see like jewelry on my wrists. And I was with a large group of people. We were all in mourning, and we were heading into this funeral for this person we loved. And then I woke up. And number 5 kind of goes along with that, and yet it doesn't. Number 5 is actually about 2 different dreams, but they were shorter dreams, and they're kind of lumped together, so I'm going to stick them in here together. They were also about Egypt, and the one I know for sure was, the second one I'm guessing it was. So here's what happened. So with the first dream I'm going to talk about, I was in Egypt. There really wasn't any people or action in these dreams. It was all just setting. I got to see the environment. So the first dream I'm going to talk about, I was in Egypt when everything was new and shiny and beautiful. The pyramids looked nothing like they look today. They were shiny. They reflected the sunlight crazy. They were, picture like a brand new granite countertop or a slab of granite or a slab of marble, how it's just polished and shiny. That's what it looked like. These pyramids, they were like a light, almost white colored granite or some kind of a polished stone. And everything, now you just see it and everything's like ruins and crumbled and sand everywhere and just dirty, dusty, bland. But in this vision, everything was luxe, polished and luxe. I saw so much green, like palm trees and whatnot, and I saw polished stone and so much gold. Everything was just shiny and luxe and fancy. Very, very, it felt very wealthy and very, what is the word I'm looking for? Opulent. Everything there looked opulent. Manicured, polished, luxe, opulent. Those are the words that I would use to describe this. I will see if I can find a picture that even remotely resembles what I saw. It was very beautiful and opulent. The second dream I'm going to talk about actually happened first. This happened several years ago, but I think they kind of go together. I get the vibe that they do. So in this dream, all I had was a visual. Like I was somewhere in my house. I was in a room. I could see out. I was just looking at this wall. And this wall, it was huge. I don't know how tall. I didn't look up and see, but the feeling of it was just grand. Like, I don't know if this would have been like 20-foot ceilings, 50-foot ceilings. It would just felt like it just went and went and went. Like I was in a huge open room with massive ceilings. And the wall was covered in some kind of a beige or a cream colored polished stone, kind of like the pyramids were. So I don't know if it was granite. I don't know if it was marble. I don't know what it was, but it was just this massive wall of this creamy beige tan colored stone. And in front of it was a bench with, looked like white or ivory colored linen cushioned seat on the top, and it had gold crossed legs. And then beside it was this massive large potted palm. And it just looked beautiful and luxurious. But that was the whole dream. I just saw this scene. So anyways, I thought that that was really interesting to get a glimpse or a peek back at all of these different lifetimes and what it felt to live in those periods. So I hope you found this as interesting as I did. I know it's hard to listen to other people's dreams without being like, oh, but if this interests you, let me know, because I would be happy to make more, and because I have a lot more to come. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Until next time.